me, I had like a little Kindle, right? And I had taken it. I was allowed to have devices, but my parents were like, "You're not having a phone until," I thought until like I'm like 20 years old, right? So I'm like, okay, fine. But I had this little Kindle, and I was like 11 years old. And on that Kindle, I was on YouTube a lot, and I'd be looking at stuff on YouTube that is ridiculous, right? I remember one of the main things was this guy who went outside and he did like, oh, prank kiss challenge, right? He'd go up to people and he like see them together and he's like, hey, he'd go up to a father and be like, hey, can I kiss your daughter right there? And I'd be watching that stuff, right? And I used to love it, right? Crazy. And I remember one time I had the Kindle and then I just got this feeling I got to tell my mom about this, right? So I was like, wait a minute, but then if I tell her, I'm gonna get in trouble. Nobody's catching me doing this, right? So I was like going back and forth with it. It was the guilt that was just tearing me apart, right? And I was downstairs in the basement. I just remember praying to God, right? I was like, God, take this guilt away. Like, I don't want to tell my parents, just take this guilt away. And from that point, everything started to go down, right? So I stopped feeling bad about stuff. I was still kind of by myself. I was homeschooled. I've been homeschooled all my life. And I was like, doing stuff that was very ridiculous, and people would look back and be like, why would you do that? It was just because I wanted to be rebellious. I remember one time my dad went out of town, so I decided to get my skateboard and like ride around the neighborhood late at night just because, right? I got home that night. Actually, my mom caught me right as I came in the door, and she was just so destroyed, right? But I didn't care. The main thing I do to kind of suppress the guilty feeling, because I see my parents, I'm like, I don't want them to feel like this, obviously. But I'd be like, all right, you said I couldn't go outside or I can't do this, then I'm gonna do something that I want to do just to like get back at you, right? Um, and then things were pretty bad, but I was just doing it by myself. Like as a lot of us know, when you get around other people, it kind of enhances what you're already doing, right? So I was by myself, so it was very bad, but it wasn't as bad as it could have been. So now I'm about 13 years old, and I decided to go into the neighborhood one day and play football at a park that was not too far from my house. And it was really fun. It was good fun. My parents liked the kids and stuff, and we'd just be outside. We'd be going to Walmart and playing hide and seek in there, and it was just fun kids stuff, right? But then one day, one of the kids, he'd always been smoking weed, but he was just the only one by himself. This was the eighth grade year. Summertime, I started hanging out with him a lot more, just us, right? And then I started smoking weed as well. And it was just the fun feeling. We're outside with our friends and stuff, and things are cool, and we're going out, we're cracking up, and we're just having all this fun. Mind you, things in the house are terrible. I got addicted to going outside and hanging out with them. No matter what we were doing, I just wanted to get out of the house, away from my mom, sister, and brother. I just want to be outside in the neighborhood, right? I wasn't going to do anything necessarily bad, but if my mom told me I couldn't go outside, it was like, oh my gosh, like, are you serious right now? Like, she wronged me and everything I've ever done just by telling me I can't go outside right now. So it was just unreasonable anger I had at my mom and my sister. I would say it was very, very close to hating them fully, right? So things are very bad in the house, as you can all imagine. The only time my mom would really get a break from that is when I'd be outside. So I'm outside, and then the summer ended, right? Now we're going into high school freshmen, and the group that we had, they were all in eighth grade. They broke up because they all went to different high schools, started hanging out with different people. So then I started buying weed by myself. I got to the dealer, straight to him, and it was just like I buy the weed, I go home, sneak it up. I have a crazy way of getting it past my parents, and then like a recreational thing that was fun with everybody became a personal addiction. I never thought I was addicted, right? But most people who are addicted don't think they are. Like, okay, I could stop if I wanted to, but why in the world would I want to stop, right? I'd get weed, smoke it at night, and then be high until I go to sleep. And I wake up, fine, just regular thing. We come. This happens for about a couple of months. Then we come to January 1st. I never, like I said before, I never had a phone. Never was allowed to have a phone, right? So I decided enough is enough, and it was bad with that. Like there are so many things my parents used to have. Like obviously their computers and phones and stuff. They go to sleep, and I'd get on their stuff at night. What I would be doing on there? I'd be watching shows. I'd be watching so much porn. It's not even funny, right? I'd be masturbating, doing whatever I wanted to do until I put the computer up, right? And then I'd slip back in its place, and that had been going on for about 4 years, right? During that time of being in the house. And that was what was going on. But then one of my friends got a new phone because his mom threw his out the window. And then he said, I'll give it to you, and if you get it fixed, you can have it. It's yours, right? So it was an iPhone 11 Pro. I got this phone fixed. I actually stole the money from my parents, right? Stole the money from my parents, got the phone fixed. And then I have my own phone now for the first time in my life. And man, that was so liberating, right? I'd always beg my parents for things, but now I could get it done by myself, right? And in that was kind of like I had to ask you to go outside. Now I can just leave whenever I want to. I had to ask you to get on your devices, but then it was I have my own now, so I don't really need my parents for anything. That's what's going on in my mind. So I'm thinking I don't have to do what they really want me to do. I don't have to do it like the right way. I don't have to really be around them too much. That was where my mind was. So then my mom is obviously destroyed by this. She's seen her son go from being a good little kid, and now I'm the type of kid that she would tell other kids not to be like, right? So it's ridiculously hard for her. So then that goes on for about 2 months, and my dad got a call from Pastor Mark. Some of you might know him, some of you might not, but he's a pastor of Calvary Chapel Word of Life, and he told my dad basically he's got to get out of the house, right? And that's what I've been saying forever. I wanted two things in my entire life. I wanted a phone, which I had now, and I wanted to go to school so I could get away from my family and I could get around kids my own age, right? So he said you should send him to International Christian High School, to school in the Northeast. And so I went there. I remember the day my parents told me I'd be going there. They handed me an envelope, and they were like, "Here you go." And I opened this envelope, and it was a certificate saying you graduated from the Sanderson Academy of Excellence. That's what they used to call the homeschooling thing that we used to do. And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" I collapsed on the floor from relief. I was like, "Oh my goodness, I'm finally going to school." Because I'd read books about it, I'd see videos, and I just glorify going to school. And I was just so relieved that day, and it was so amazing, right? So then I got to school, and it was crazy. I was happier than I'd ever been in my entire life, right? And I realized, can I take this out? Yeah. I realized that in school, it wouldn't be smart to be smoking weed because my school is very strict. They said, if you were caught with weed, you're either sent to rehab or you get kicked out. My dad had caught me with weed a couple of times, and he told me, if I catch you with weed again, you're going to a rehab facility, right? And he was dead serious. So I realized it wouldn't be smart to smoke during school days. I used to be able to smoke whenever because I was a homeschooler, but then I'm in school, so I'm like, all right, I'm only gonna smoke on weekends, right? So I'm not gonna get caught. I'll come down off my high in time to go to school and be fine. And that's what I was doing. So I had a phone, and by the way, when my parents told me I'd be going to school, they gave me an Android phone, but it wasn't about the phone that they gave me. It was a cracked up $100 phone. It was trash, but I was very happy to get it because that showed they were trusting me. They were starting to trust me with the phone despite all this stuff that was going on. So I had a phone from my parents. I had a secret phone they didn't know about, and I was in school. My life's purpose has been achieved, right? So then I'm in school, and I remember it was a Sunday. It was on a Sunday, and I went outside with two of my friends, two of the guys I'd be smoking weed with the most, and we got this extra. I don't even know what it was. He was an addict, the guy. So he had all this different stuff we put in the blunts and things like that. So then I got particularly high one Sunday, and I came home and I was just in the clouds, right? So I stumbled past my mom and dad, and she's like, "Why are your eyes red? What's wrong with that?" I was like, "I'm really tired today," right? It was ridiculous. It was a horrible excuse, but then my parents left that night, and they had a couples thing at church, I believe. So they just decided they had to get out of whatever was going on because it was about to get bad, right? So then I'm going by, wake up the next morning, nothing happened. So I think I'm good. I go to school Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Come to Thursday, I get particularly bold. Now there are always people in school who be smoking weed because it's in a kind of seedy neighborhood over there, but I never really smoke weed with them because again I'm not trying to get kicked out of school, take my phone, lose my all the privileges I had gotten, right? So then one day it's a Thursday, and I remember I was in the bathroom and this guy he offered me this vape type thing. So I was like, all right, fine, I'll do it. And I took 3 puffs of it, right? And I think everything's fine. I leave that bathroom and I was loopy. I don't even know what I was seeing. I'm sitting there in biology class. I'm like this. My eyes are closed like this. I'm looking at the guy who I had smoked it with, and we were laughing and smiling at each other, right? Class lets out, and I'm in the hallway putting stuff in my locker. And the lady who is over all punishment in my school comes up to me. She picks me out of an entire like an entire hallway of kids. She says, "Are you Jaylen? I'm gonna need you to see me in my office, right?" So I'm walking behind her. I'm like, "Wow, I did it now. It's over, finished, completely." She sits me down in her office, and I'm just thinking about all the things that had happened and where I was right now. I was thinking about the times when I'd be taking things from my parents, the times when they'd be trying to cry out to me like, "Jaylen, like, we don't want this for you." All this stuff, and I'm just sitting there finally in school, have a phone that they gave me, have a phone that they don't know about, and all that's about to be gone because I wanted to smoke weed in school. So I'm just thinking, hindsight is 2020. I was like, I never should have done this, obviously. She sits me down, she says, "Jaylen, it's come to our attention that," and at that moment, it was a moment of pure desperation. Like I just like threw up a desperate shout. I was like, "God, please." That was it, right? And the lady says, she says, "There's been some bullying going on. And I just want to let you know in your friend group. So I wanted to let you know I don't want you to like go down that path, right?" So it was a warning. I leave out of that office and I'm floating on the clouds, and not because I was high. I was just like, this is ridiculous. I can't believe I just got away with it again. Because that was the rush that I usually be going for, getting away with it. But that time was very different. I went home that day. I was like, I'm done with weed. That's it. I'm finished. I'm gonna hold off on weed until the summertime. It's no more weed, no more smoking, no more anything. I'm gonna take a break, right? Exactly. So then I got home that day, took the weed that I had and gave it to one of my neighborhood friends, and that was it. So 2 days later, it's a Saturday, I went to the track with Alexi and my sister, and I never used to hang out with her at all because I was like, I hated her just as much as I hated my parents. So then that was already what was different. By the way, 2 weeks before, I saw a TikTok that said watching porn messes up your relationship with girls. Who would have thought, right? So then I'm thinking, I used to be very good at talking with girls on the phone. That's something I prided myself with. But then I realized that was starting to go downhill. I was starting to get on, just be dry and not know what to say. So then I gave up porn 2 weeks before that. And at that moment, that's when my relationship with my mom and sister got better. I don't know how that works, right? That was 2 weeks before this Thursday where I smoked weed in school. So I'd given up porn, I'd given up weed, and I realized that coming in the house from the track, I was like, wow, I'm only hiding one thing from my parents right now. It's that phone that I got on January 1st from my friend. So I was like, man, I'm gonna tell them about the phone, right? I get up into my room and then I realize I'm gonna tell my parents about this phone. And at that moment, I just broke down crying, tears. I was trying to be a tough guy at the time, but then I wasn't holding it back anymore. I was just like weeping straight up. I was rolling on the ground just like this. I was just like, "God, are you serious? God, are you serious right now?" Just bawling my eyes out, right? And that went on for like about 10 minutes. It was the burden that was lifted off my shoulders was ridiculous. It was something that I never it eclipsed any feeling that weed could ever have, right? And I remember that. So then after that, I'm sitting there and then I had this thought and I knew it was from God, right? It was like, you got to rip that essential hoodie that you have in your closet. I used to have this essential hoodie. Obviously, we know one of the main things in the world you're chasing is the look of you, like your appearance, right? So I had all the clothes and stuff like that. So God was like, "You got to rip it up." So I was like, whatever. I'm in this moment. I'm like, okay, fine. I go up to my closet, take the hoodie down, try to rip it like this. It doesn't work. So I put it under my foot and I just rip, right? And the hoodie shreds, right? So then I'm like, wow, this is great. All right, I'm cool. Then I got one more thought, right? That I knew was from God, and it was like, you should cut all of your hair off. Cut my hair off. What does that have to do with anything that's going on right now? But I'm in the moment, so I go into the bathroom. I'm looking at the clippers. I'm like, wait, hold on. My hair is basically everything. Like a lot of people know when you're our age, when you're young, your hair tells a lot about you. Some people think it's an extension of your personality or it's like who you are, right? Some people identify with their hair so much they cry if a little lock got cut off. But that's what I was thinking sitting there in the bathroom. I was like, cut my hair off for what, right? Pride. That's what I would post myself immediately after getting a haircut, 20 pictures and stuff like that, and people be like liking them on Instagram and stuff like that. That's what I live for. So then I was like, I don't think I'm gonna cut my hair off. But then I got another thought from God. It was like, are you gonna do this halfway or are you gonna do it fully? And I was like, dang. All right. So I took the clippers, put a guard on, and just went straight down the middle, shaved it all off, right? And that 2 days That was one of the best 2 days of my life. From that point, best 2 days of my life. I told my parents. My dad came home and he looked at me. He was like, he looked at me first, and then he did the double take. He was like, "What?" Because I had like about this much hair, right? And it was like lower than this. And he's like, "What in the world happened?" I sat him and my mom down and told him everything I'd done for the last 2 years, right? And my mom cried. I think my dad cried. They were just shocked and like just praising God for it. So then I did the prayer with my dad, accepted Jesus that day, and then then Sunday night. I was reading my Bible for like one of the first times, and I was like, man, I realized I gotta go back to school tomorrow, right? They saw me on Friday with a full head of hair, and now I'm coming down with this random low cut, right? So then I was reading, and then I think it was that passage where it's like, if something is hindering you, cut it off. It's better to go without that thing than to burn in hell. So then I got another thought from God. I ran downstairs like, Mom. She was sleeping on the couch. Like, Mom, I'm gonna go completely bald. And she was like, yeah, talk to your dad, because she was wasted from all the stuff I told her, right? So I ran downstairs. My dad's about like, Dad, I'm gonna color my hair off. I'm going bald. And he's like, do whatever God tells you to do, and turns back over, right? So I go back upstairs and I take the clippers. I go completely bald that day, right? And I'm like, I walk into my room. I'm like, wow, this is great. Like, I'm one with God now. We're cool. I look in the mirror and I see the Prince of Egypt, right? From the thing. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, I have to go to school tomorrow, right? These people, they saw me with a full head of hair. And now I'm coming in straight Mr. Clean. I'm thinking my life is over, right? But I'm like, okay. So I look back up myself and I'm like, I chuckle. I'm like, wow, this is crazy. I prayed, God, please let me find this more funny than they do, because people in my school be getting clowned for any reason, and this was ridiculous. So next day of school, I went in. I knew there was no point in hiding it. Took the hat right off, and everyone was just like shocked. I got a little bit late that day. Whole classrooms would be coming to the door looking out like, what in the world happened to Jaylen? And I went into my classroom, and people were like, they thought I had cancer or something. They were like, oh my gosh, Jaylen, like, are you okay? Like, is there anything I can do? And I'd be thinking, I'm just like, nah, it's fine. People be trying not to laugh when I'd be walking by. And they were just like, the jokes there, they were ridiculous. I remember, I'm going to say a couple. A Lego without the hairpiece. Mr. Potato without the hair. Mr. Clean, that one, I didn't live that one down for a couple of months after my hair grown back. But it was just so funny. And I was genuine. God answered my prayer. I was laughing along with everyone. Teachers, whole classrooms be melting into laughter at this stuff. And that was about 2 years ago. That was the start of my walk with Jesus. And then how it kind of comes full circle. I stopped going to that school because I decided homeschooling is a little bit actually better. For me at least. So then I ran to one of my neighborhood friends, the guy who I actually gave the weed to when I first stopped smoking. And then I told him the same thing I just told you just now. And the next day, he accepted Jesus into his life, right? So then he got saved that day, and then it's just been a walk ever since then. So. All right.
Thank you, man. Bless you. I got visions of trying you.
That one too. No doubt. Yeah. Oh yeah. Curious George.